And hello, team. Welcome for part 2 of this week, Executing Projects. We're talking about conflict handling modes. And of course, if you want high cooperation or high cooperativeness, right, it's this sort of collaborating or accommodating. And if there's high assertiveness, you might work anywhere between competing and collaborating, or just ways to use that. So here is just a little bit more on conflict. Conflict can be good. That is sometimes considered foreign, right, to the world we live in. But we do think of conflict as good, meaning we work to avoid it by having good communications with the team, by clearly expressing the goals, the vision step by step, by creating great detailed roles and responsibilities. These things help reduce conflict, but you're still going to have conflict over technical opinions, delivery dates, etc. So conflict is going to happen. PMI would say turn it into a good, make it a positive, do a team building event, right? And so use conflict to help even avoid groupthink. Think outside the box. So research suggests that task-related conflict, which is derived from differences over objectives and how to get to them, often improves team performance, right? As long as it's kept to a mature and respectful level. This can be good. One of the things I like to do is do a team charter. A team charter is not the project charter. Project charter is a formal document that signed by your sponsor and yourself, the project manager, that formally authorizes your project and gives you the authority to use resources, as you recall. But a team charter is something I do at the very beginning, where the whole team sits around and says, hey, what kind of problems do teams have and how can we resolve them? If there's conflict, how will we resolve them? Let's come to an agreement now so we understand each other, right? And I think that's been a very effective way to go. So these are from the book. I love them. What Went Wrong? This is a whole concept around groupthink, which can be very dangerous. So you want to laud other thinking, even if you don't use it. Give them reasons why. Whenever I tell somebody no as a project manager, I always tell them why, so that they know it's not personal and that they will keep coming back to me with their issues. That's my approach to avoiding groupthink. Now, one of the things you have to do as a project manager in executing projects is deal with knowledge. You are learning a lot. One, turn that around and have that knowledge be infused back into your project. And two, share that knowledge with your PMO, if they have a place to share it, or with other project managers or senior leaders in the company. That's managing project knowledge. Ways to collect knowledge include SharePoint, emails, experience, change requests, etc. But notice you are looking for two types of knowledge. One is explicit. This is frankly the easy side. What you read in the textbook, what you hear in this PowerPoint, things that are easy to grasp once you've been exposed to them. We understand this. What's harder, but still true knowledge, is called tacit knowledge. And tacit knowledge is getting people to express beliefs accurately, things we know that are true. I'll just give you a quick example. If I asked you right now, define a family, every one of you knows what a family is when you walk into it. You can feel it. But once we start to define it in words, it gets very challenging, right? But that's tacit knowledge. You know what a family is, right? People who love each other, who support each other. Is it blood? Is it not blood? Plenty of adopted people, but they're still part of the family, right? So we know what a family is. I might define a family as just anybody that I invite to my house for Thanksgiving that accepts the invitation, right? But now I've limited it too. But yet we all know what a family is. Anyhow, that's my example of tacit knowledge. Be aware of both of those. There are things hard to explain. It's still knowledge because you're trying to drive this team culture within your corporate culture. I love, as I mentioned, a lessons learned register. Project managers are always collecting lessons learned, always, from the very beginning to the end. As a process, project management will formally have you publish them in closing a process or closing the project, right? Or closing a phase even, right? But really, as a project manager, you have to know you are always collecting lessons learned because you want to apply them in your project and with the company at large. Now, quality is the happy cousin or sister, brother of scope. Scope is about collecting the requirements. Quality is a higher level of requirements that must be met to satisfy the stakeholders. These are the standards, right, that you will test for. And so I always make sure that I include quality assurance, right? That includes all the activities related to satisfying the quality standards. In quality assurance, I'm even going to make sure I have a review of processes, right? Are the processes that we put in place being followed? Sometimes they're not followed for various reasons, and it's an accident. Nobody's really doing it on purpose. But if the process isn't being followed, then the data I'm collecting during execution is not accurate. I will make recommendations based on the data, thinking we were following the processes, when maybe the answer is really just to go back and update the processes. So quality assurance is going to make sure you're doing the right things along the way. Quality also includes plenty of tools. You can benchmark. Frankly, that's like stealing a good idea from somebody else. Not really stealing. When I worked for the government, somebody at one base would do something. Pretty soon I was implementing it at mine. We all work for the government. Nobody owns the idea. So, but the formal term is benchmarking, right? What about a quality audit? A quality audit should be from an independent group, not part of your project. But as a project manager, sure, they're kind of a hassle. Sure, I didn't really have time for it, but I invite them because my plan was built to see if it works and to make modifications when it doesn't. I want somebody to come in and tell me if I've missed something. It's okay. It's not about me. It's not personal. If somebody wants to send me an audit, I'll accept it, because that gives me a chance to resolve issues that maybe I didn't identify. And of course, a key to project management in this process analysis, I call it CPI, or continuous process improvement. And that's really what Kaizen is all about. I believe you spell it, if you want to look it up, Kizen. Kaizen is about everyday, even small improvements in everything you do, right? Continuous process improvement. There's another term you might want to look up, and it's called, it's very similar to this. It's called value engineering. Value engineering. Okay, look that up. 3 terms, very similar, and they all are project manager centric. Okay, so best practices, right? There's something called the Toyota Way, and they implement their just-in-time approach of ordering more items, right? And it's really a pull system through what the word they use is Kanban, which is now streamlined. There's a whole Kanban agile approach. On a predictive or waterfall project, I've used a Kanban board, even though it's not an agile project, because I have work lined up, and as soon as there's capacity, that work gets pulled through, and I'm waiting for the next one to get ready. And then as soon as there's capacity, it gets pulled. It doesn't wait to get pushed. Here is a sample of that, right? So I have work to do. So this is waiting. This is in the waiting, right? And then work in progress. So I have 3 teams, and they're pretty busy now. And they have finished 2 tasks. I actually add one other column, and I do it right here. Besides work in progress, I have, what I do is I add work with blockers, right? Because sometimes work gets blocked, and that's what I want to focus on. So really, I have two columns of work in progress. The work in progress that's operating normally, and the work in progress with blockers. That's something I'm going to focus on more directly. Okay, so is it worth the time? How long can you work on making a routine task more efficient before you're spending more time than the money you save? This is a quality question all the time, right? In quality, we call this it's MAR, marginal analysis. And what that says is only add enough quality that you're getting quality out of it. When I reach $1 of quality that I'm putting into the project for every $1 I'm getting out, perfect. Now I'm done. I never want to put $1.10 of quality when I'm only going to get $1 of quality out, right? It's the same concept with time. There is an expression that says the enemy of the best is the enemy of good enough. Most things, a 90% solution is good enough, right? And because we're always tweaking, it's project management. We are progressively elaborating our project as we learn things. So don't let the best be the enemy of good enough. Good enough is often the way to go. Now, if I want to do root cause analysis in project management, I am going to do a cause and effect diagram. This goes by a lot of terms that you could Google or look up in the book. It'll be called a fishbone diagram. Okay? It's also called, I'm sure I'm going to misspell it, Ishikawa diagram. Ishikawa. If you Google it, they'll correct the spelling. It's also called a YY diagram. So what you do is you put your problem statement here, and then first time you ask why, you'll get these long arrows here. Okay, and you're sitting around doing this with the team likely. And then what's going to happen is you continue to ask why, and that's where you're going to get these other sub areas. And until there's no more why to ask, then you've reached, these are all potential causes, but when there's no more why, you'll reach your root cause or root causes, right? It's a fishbone diagram. You're actually starting with the problem and working it backwards along the way. Pretty cool approach. Don't forget, in execution, you are managing resources effectively. In an agile project, the team members are always there. But in a waterfall project, team members will come on and off the project various times, and your job is not to hold them. It's to release them as soon as they are ready. You are also responsible for motivating the team. There's both intrinsic and extrinsic motivation. You need to understand your team. Part of my MBWA, Management by Walking Around, is trying to motivate people to understand them as well as the job itself. Okay, Maslow's hierarchy of needs is an example of a motivational theory, right? Where everybody goes through this approach and everybody's trying to reach self-actualization, but they cannot get beyond the physiological until those are met. Then they'll seek safety. And when those are met, they'll seek social power and acceptance, right? And esteem and self-actualization. That's Maslow's hierarchy along the way. So Herzberg's another great one. Herzberg is like Maslow's, but he talks about hygiene factors. In fact, I like Herzberg. I'm going to pause here and come right back to it in the next section. Sound good? Love it. Hope you do too. Okay, see you guys in a minute.